here at Global Presence Talks, and I'm excited to be here with Jenna. Jenna, how are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you, Jack?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Jenna, and I want to say, I want to make sure I pronounce your last name correctly because I'm horrible with names. Giroponti, Giromponi,
Girompini. Close.
Girompini. Okay, good. Man, I'm sorry about that. I'd be chopping up everyone's name. And
Oh, that's quite all right.
Jenna, it's been great getting to know you and seeing some of the work that you do. And I know that you began your career as a chief administrative officer, um, and you've helped working with organizations on biological counterterrorism. Um, you've worked with police in the UK. You worked with the United Nations. You worked with the capital delivery at the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Agency. You've worked with legal firms. Um, and I know that one of your notable projects was working with the IRS on strategic engagement plan with the Human Capital Office. You're working on a change management plan for LinkedIn, creating a project management certification program with UMass Boston. I mean, you really have an extensive portfolio here, but I know that your forte, your passion is helping businesses do business with the government. Can you touch a little bit on how you got into this industry and working with such great institutions, both on the public and private sector?
Sure. I actually first got into this industry pretty much by happen chance. I went to college for English. My original plan was to be a college English professor. I left school for a year, took a year off to just really get my head together, take a break, and was actually hired as a trade show model for a company. And pretty quickly, they learned that I was kind of intelligent, and they asked me to be the chief administrative officer for this company. So I jumped in pretty quickly at a pretty high level. I've actually met Henry Kissinger,
Wow.
which was actually pretty crazy. Short little sweet man, but I got into government contracting and really started to, I guess, soak up the knowledge around me, and really started to pay attention to the government, how companies won government contracts. Learned very quickly on that companies, they can't just go and sell their products or services to the government. And on the flip side of that, the government can't just go to Staples or Amazon.com and order computers or laptops or desk chairs or computer paper or even paper clips. They had to release the contracts through a website called sam.gov and release it out to companies that were registered on sam.gov. So, like I said from the beginning, I really jumped into it quickly, and learned that, everything's a contract. Words mean things. Everything's very legal. Everything's very detailed. And I being having, a type A personality, I'm a very detailed person. And so it really piqued my interest. And I thought, this would possibly be a good route for me to go. I dabbled around in pharmaceuticals, manufacturing from there, but really have learned that my forte and my interest is in helping businesses win those contracts out there. The government released, I think, $645.5 billion in government contract funding just last year alone.
Wow.
And companies, since COVID, companies are hurting. They're looking for those contracts. They're looking for those funding opportunities. So if I can help companies win those contracts, and create that more stable income, that's a plus on my personal part as well. So that definitely helps.
Yeah, that's exciting. And, I know that you are part of our network, and a lot of the companies that call us up that want to do business with the government, the question they ask is, how do companies start in government contracting? I mean, what's usually like the first step for people to get involved in this process?
It's a very detailed process. It can be very simple to begin with. The first thing a company needs to do is, obviously register their company, get a tax ID number for the United States government. and then register on sam.gov. It's a very simple process. You really just need your tax information, your corporate information, all of that good stuff. Put it into the website and become approved. They also have what's called a cage code, which is basically how a company gets paid. So, when you win a government contract, you submit your cage code, you send the government an invoice, and they pay you. They also have what's called NAICS codes and PSC codes. Those are industry classifiers for each company. So for every category, there's a NAICS code or a PSC code, and that's how the government releases opportunities and contracts. They do it categorically, so they're easier to search through, and they're easier for the government to release. So let's say, for instance, you're a marketing company like Global Presence. You'll qualify under a certain number of NAICS codes and PSC codes, and you pick those out when you're registering through sam.gov. So that's definitely the first step. If you're a small business, I highly recommend contacting your local small business office. They can be a great resource for upcoming opportunities, contracts, networking, meetings. They normally have weekly meetings. You can ask advice from other small businesses. They also have what's called a mentor protege program. You can sign up for that. So they partner you up with a larger company that has a little bit more government contracting experience. A lot of times you can subcontract under those companies to get some government contracting experience on your resume. So those are definitely the first steps. From there, you definitely want to have what's called a capability statement. Even though it says statement, it's really not a statement. It's really basically your government's marketing brochure. It has, all of your important information on there, your company name, your logo, your theme, your contact information, your products or services that you offer or sell. And this really gives you a chance to put what makes your company stand out and what makes your company different from other companies. I think that's the number one point that companies really find tough to deal with is, you have hundreds of companies, sometimes if not thousands of companies, all competing for the same contract. And you really need to make your company stand out. What makes you different? And to go on, what I'm thinking is probably going to be your next question is, how can you help your company stand out? There are definitely these industry classifiers and certifications that if you qualify for, you really want to pay attention to and you really want to get. For instance, if your company is owned by a woman, if it's over 51%, you want to certify your company as a woman-owned business. Small business, if you're a minority-owned company, you want to certify your company as a minority-owned company. If you're a veteran, you want to certify your company as a veteran-owned company. A disabled veteran, there's everything from women-owned small businesses to disabled veteran-owned small businesses. There's a whole list of 20 some odd certifications that your company could actually qualify for. And what helps you in this realm is the federal government actually has to release a certain amount of contracts, specifically what they call set-asides to these companies every year. And what this does for companies is it gives other companies fair play at contracts that you may or may not have had access to previously. So those are definitely some great first steps that a company has to do and also should do, and that I definitely thoroughly believe in.
So, and I know, so the minority owned business space is huge, I think, because not a lot of minorities are taking advantage. And I know when it comes to like supply side, it's hard for them to compete with the big boys. So what should basically a company who's basically looking for qualified contracts or bids or proposals, how do they start? Like, how do they start that search process and get going?
I've found that the more research you do, the better off you are. It definitely has a very steep learning curve to begin with. A lot of times I'll sit and watch TV at night, put on a movie, and just really start searching through the internet. It's a definite layer by layer process. The website that you really want to get to know and really want to understand is the federal government's website. The federal government legally has to release all of their contracts through a website called sam.gov. And I'll also drop this in the chat later as well. And you can search by either your company's NAICS codes or your PSC codes or keywords. For instance, if you want to sell cups, drinking cups, if you think about it, every government agency, every government office building, every government hospital, every facility, they all use cups. And like I said, the federal government, they can't just go on to Amazon.com and order cups. You'd think it would be as easy as that. Now, with that being said, Amazon does have a government side of their website. But if you want to compete for those, what you want to do is you want to go on sam.gov and basically either put in the NAICS codes or PSC codes for cups, flatware, those types of items, or put in the keyword for cups. And what you'll see probably thousands, if not more, of contracts pop up. And these would be government contracts that are looking for cups, whether it's, for an Army Air Force base, whether it's for, the State House, whether it's for an upcoming trade show or meeting. The government, federal, state, or local has a need to purchase cups. So that's definitely how you want to start. There are definitely a lot of third-party websites. I have found some good ones. Since I have a lot of bi-monthly clients that I consult for, I do suggest picking out one or two to subscribe to, especially in the beginning, because it can make your search process a lot easier. It can lay out the terms, the contract terms in more of layman's terms. Definitely a lot easier to read and a lot understand rather than the government's gibberish. It's a lot more straightforward. And it really just lays out, what type of contract it is. There are multiple types of contracts. There are straight procurements, which basically means that the government is looking for a product or a service. They're looking to buy, 200 cups. This is what they need. And basically they're looking for vendors or suppliers to submit their bid and their information. Or they're looking for an opportunity to purchase cups at a set price. So definitely it's the third-party contracts. They can make it easier. They do tend to lay out the requirements a lot easier, the dates a lot easier. For a lot of opportunities, there are pre-bid conferences. Those are opportunities for you to meet either possibly other vendors that you'll be competing against. If it's an unsealed bid, if it's a sealed bid, it means it's blind. You don't know who your competitors are. So there could be one or there could be thousands. It also lays out the dates a lot easier. It gives you an opportunity to ask questions to the procurement officer or purchasing officer. This would be the person that is in charge or could have possibly written the contract. And also, there are a lot of contracts out there for small businesses and companies that are new to the field and maybe that have unique processes or products that maybe they can't find a lot of contracts for. And these are called forecasted opportunities.
Okay.
So these are contracts that either the government doesn't really know what they're looking for yet, or they haven't set the requirements, they haven't set the specifications.
Sure.
They may be looking for cups, but they don't know if they want small little juice cups or if they're going to need, pint glasses or thermoses. So this would be your opportunity to really push your company and really sell your company to the government to basically say, hey, we're a product company. We have these great cups, they're insulated. They come in all sizes, all colors. We can customize them. Why don't you go ahead and instead of releasing this opportunity out to the public, why don't you go ahead and just sole source it to us? We're qualified. We're looking for experience. You really need to set your requirements as far as, I think it's 8% of federal government contracts that need to get released and contracted to small businesses. So it also helps them set their requirements. So basically they can just hand over a contract and pretty much just not have to worry about it. So those are some, a little bit about how to get into government contracting, kind of, the process about what you need to do, the different aspects of it. It can definitely be confusing. It can be overwhelming. But, as I have come to do this, over the years, I've learned a ton. It's an incredibly interesting process. It may sound incredibly dry. However, I do know that we have a couple of hopefully to be lawyers on the team. So I think that you guys will definitely find it very interesting.
So,
So yeah.
and yes, and I mean, this is so amazing in the sense that people that have something to offer to the government, a product or
Mhm.
service, um, this can really, I know, it can change their lives, can change their small business. And I do know some of our clients who started doing business with the government. They went from being, $100,000 a year business to, $2-3 million a year, and it has really changed their companies. And of course, they've divested themselves into other contracts and private business to business contracts, business to government contracts. Um, but what are some of the unique identifiers, and why and how should businesses basically who are searching for these contracts use these identifiers to win contracts?
Sure. That those are, like I said, the women-owned small businesses, the minority-owned businesses, the veteran-owned businesses. You really want to key into those factors of your company and those aspects of your company because it gives you a better chance at winning contracts. There are these set asides, and when the government releases these set asides, sometimes they're not released to every single company that's out there and qualified. They are specifically set aside for these types of companies. So when you go on to sam.gov, you can actually filter these contracts by those set asides. So let's say, you're a new business and you're 51% owned by a woman. So technically you qualify for women-owned small business contracts. So when you search for, cups, clocks, chairs, marketing services, IT services, whatever your company provides, you want to apply that filter to those contracts. So that when you filter those contracts and you see the contracts that are available, you know that every single other business that is going to apply for these contracts technically and legally has to be whatever it's set aside for: women-owned small business, veteran-owned small business, minority-owned small business. So you have a much smaller pool of vendors that are applying for this contract. And what it also does is it gives you a chance to reach out and network to other small businesses, women-owned small businesses, minority-owned small businesses. And one of the things that I definitely really like about government contracting is that even though it's such a competitive field, you will find that other companies, even your competitors, they're really out there to help you. They're really out there to network. They're out there to create this partnership and this camaraderie between government contractors. We all know it's tough, but the end goal basically is to grow your business. The government, they can be tough, but they
Sure.
do want to, help out businesses. They want to do business with smaller companies, minority-owned companies.
Well, and you touched on something there, collaborating with your competitors. But I think also you can learn from your competitors, right? Like your competitors can actually show you how to bid, what not to bid on based on wins and losses. Can you touch on that? How people can learn from their competitors?
Sure. You definitely want to get involved with networking, industry events, everything from meetings, webinars, if you can afford it, the larger trade shows. In the beginning, don't take on too much. I've seen a lot of companies go under because they spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, attending and exhibiting at trade shows. The first step to networking with your competitors is really just meeting them. Get on those chat boards, get on those Facebook groups, get on the LinkedIn groups, get on Messenger, ask for advice. They're there to give you advice. Because remember, when those large contracts are released, a lot of times the company will find that they can only handle part of the contract. Now, let's say it's a marketing event. Let's say it's a conference or a trade show or a meeting. Let's say, you're a product company and you can really only provide the chairs, the carpet, the physical lights, the signage, the marketing materials, but you can't handle the IT side of it. You don't have the capability of setting up audio visual, the internet for the trade show or meeting. So what you want to do with your competitors is you want to network. You want to see what other companies are out there that you can work with. You can partner with companies on contracts. You can also subcontract to companies.
Okay.
Also, go in as a subcontractor with a larger organization to give you more experience as well. So do your research, look around, read websites, see what contracts they're working on, and always reach out. It's always definitely the best idea to reach out. And, what's the worst thing they can do? Say no?
Yeah.
That's okay. We've all heard no. And if you haven't, get used to it. So.
Yeah, my wife, she's joining us by YouTube right now. She asked the question, Jal Hakimian, is there a way to make sure my business is in place to qualify and handle these contracts?
I think that's definitely an internal factor that you need to look at yourself, and look at your company first, and really be realistic. Like I said, I've seen companies out there that go for these big, large contracts because they're uh, money hungry and they're focused on the multiple year award contracts that are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you want to start small. I'm going to say only look at the companies. If you're starting out, only really look at the contracts that are straightforward. They're very easy. And that you can realistically say, okay, if this wasn't a federal contract, a state contract, a local contract, if this was just purely a contract with another business or a supplier, is this something I could handle? So in order to maybe not scare yourself, try not to look at them as, huge, overwhelming, overbearing government contracts. Just look at it as a business opportunity and really step back and realistically lay everything out. What's your budget? What can you handle? The supply chain, we are definitely starting to overcome that a little bit, but take it small and take it easy, because the federal government, state government, local government, they will hold you to it. You can't just walk out of these contracts. However, they can cancel them at any time. So start small. Get your feet wet first. And budget wise, really don't overspend, but don't underspend. Definitely set aside a certain amount of funds, and give yourself a certain timeline. These contracts can take a lot longer than other business contracts. Sometimes it could take, 6 months to 18 months to even win your first contract.
Okay.
So set a realistic timeline as well.
Well, I have one more question, but before I ask this question, I want to encourage all those that are watching us on YouTube, on LinkedIn, or Facebook. Please send in your questions now. As I ask this question, then I can, hopefully, if it's a good question, I could bring it up here. But what is some advice for companies that they could use in responding to bids? Is there something that they need to know in how to respond to bids, and then lastly, like, how would they move forward in partnering with you in global presence to make this happen?
There's definitely a very specific, excuse me, process into responding. When it comes to responding to contracts, it is the government. They really want you to dot your I's, cross your T's. If you're responding to a contract, they tend to be incredibly specific. If they say they want, 20 feet telephone poles, and if you can supply 21 feet telephone poles, well, you better make sure that you can cut them down to 20 feet, because that's what they asked for. So don't give them something that they didn't ask for. On a step-by-step plan, really pay attention to the format that they give you. It's not a general marketing package that you're going to be responding to. They tell you, attachment A has to be, specifically your liability insurance. Attachment B has to be a cost proposal. A lot of times they give you all of the documents that need to be filled out. As a marketing company, I'm sure you feel like you want to make everything pretty and you want to make it, with your way. But if they say respond using our documents, definitely respond using their documents. Now, you may think that they're doing this just to be finicky and picky, but it's actually easier for the procurement officers to basically just flip through paperwork quickly and make decisions. So definitely pay attention to those specific details. Don't leave anything out. If you leave one thing out, you're automatically disqualified. So very detailed step-by-step process. If you can attend those meetings, before the bid, it's great. A lot of times, if you've missed the meeting or if it's too late, they will post the questions and answers on their portal. Sometimes they use different portals depending upon what type of government agency it is. They may use a smaller portal that you actually need to submit the bid on. Some of them are very lengthy, and you pretty much just have to copy and paste every single answer to every single one of their questions, and it takes forever. Other them are definitely more straightforward, and they're definitely, question and answer types. What you also want in your bid, are the main types of information, about your company, the location, the size, what sets you different from other companies, why they should choose you. That is the most important item that you need in there. Your executive profiles. It's a project. You want a project timeline. But in the beginning, as you start to get into larger, more complicated contracts, take your time and read the contract. Read it 5-10 times. Give it to somebody else to read, to make sure that you haven't missed anything. They're all different, and not one's the same.
Okay. And then before you answer the question, how they can reach out to you through Global Presence, what kind of, May Alvarez asked us, what kind of workforce should we prepare and build when doing business with the government? And how big should the team be?
It really depends upon what type of company you are, I think. If you're a service company, whether it's marketing services, IT services, training services, you're probably going to need a bigger team in the beginning, especially if it's on site. If it's a product company, you're probably going to need a smaller team to begin with. Most of the work is done in the beginning. If you have a really good bid proposal generic template to use with, just your basic about me section, executive profiles, about your product or service, probably at that point, about 75% of your bid response package is done. So that's definitely the most important part. As you find more contracts, and you can never really tell when they're going to be released. So you pretty much just have to look kind of every day or every couple of days. Your company and your team should probably grow at that point. If you're handling by yourself and a small team, you can probably handle about 2 to 3 bid responses at a time, probably with about a team of 3 to 4, I'm going to say, just from my personal experience. If you're a larger company and if you have more experience, you're definitely going to need, somebody that's dedicated to looking and finding these contracts. You're going to need somebody on the administration side to create the checklist of all the documents that are needed, and to customize those documents. So as your experience grows, obviously the team will grow. In the beginning, it's really best not to have too many hands in the pot because it can get a little bit confusing. So yeah, I would say grow as your experience grows, but it's really whatever feels best for your company and whatever's best for your company at the time, budget wise too.
Okay, great. And then the last question is, how can people reach you at Global Presence and receive free consultation?
Sure, you can reach me at my Global Presence email, which is jenna@gp.marketing.com.
Okay.
You can also reach me on my website, which is my last name, which is GIRO, M as in Mary, P as in Peter, I, N as in Nancy, I. I would definitely suggest reaching out to me through Global Presence first and foremost. We're a great growing family here. I love it here. I've met some great people, and I am happy to, continue on with them and help them and their clients continue on the government contracting path. It's exciting. It's frustrating. It's everything all at once. So
it's great. Thank you so much, Jenna. This has been very, very helpful because I do know that this is a big space, and there's a lot of opportunities. This is something that I've been learning through my relationship with you and also some of our clients. It's forced me to have to understand the B2G space. And I'm grateful for the partnership we have with you, Jenna. And I know that it's going to grow as a division, department, a partnership. And I think the beauty of the collaboration has been the expertise you bring to the space and then of course our more extensive SEO, digital marketing, design, all the other stuff that needs to be in place. I think
Hmm.
for companies to be able to be taken serious by the government, um, and actually show a creative, elegant website, portfolio. Because I think when someone first gets into this space, right, it's still important for them to be able, like if the government goes to their website, like to see that they've been in business in the private sector, even though now they're moving to this public sector. Um, and I think it's important that they actually prove that if they're a startup, that they are a real company, and actually get some even private business proof. Because how are they going to just start doing business with the government, who's going to
Right.
be this really big, demanding client, and they haven't been able to service mom and pops, and whether they're B2C or B2B, they haven't been able to do that and do it in a faithful way. And so I think with our business development tools, and in your skill sets, and then the whole team we have around us, like Elma, who wrote here, thanks for explaining this. I had no idea how government contracts work and how business could benefit from them, but this made it much easier to digest. Thank you. And of course, Elma's on our team too as a marketing, social media marketing specialist. So it's been great for our team members to listen in and learn. And that's what we're using this as kind of like motivational Mondays, to kind of deep dive into each other's expertise, hear each other's heart and passion, and stuff like that. So, any last words, any motivational encouragement to a business that wants to do have a relationship with the government? They're discouraged, they've they feel like they're just ready to give up. Obviously, we don't want to deal with people on that stage because it's very difficult to revive them. But there are a lot of business people like me that get discouraged. And any Monday motivational um, words from you, Jenna?
I think you really need to think about the government as it's the United States' largest business. So they really are, a huge, large corporation. So you can get frustrated. We all get frustrated, whether it's, with the government, whether it's with clients, whether it's with other businesses, private or public. So really just try to look at it realistically. Take a deep breath back, a deep breath, and take a step back and really think about, is this something that you want to get into? Is this something that you want to take on? Remember, you can leave at any time, just because you win one contract, or you spent a year looking for contracts, you don't have to keep going. But it's exciting. It's a challenge. I think people should get excited about challenges. Challenges in life are good. They help us learn. They help us, go through life and create
Yeah.
relationships, good, bad, up, down. Everything's a process. And it's funny because a lot of people think that Mondays, they're the worst day of the week. However, I think Tuesdays are the worst day of the week. Mondays are the best day of the week because Monday is really where you set your focus. You decide, is this going to be a good week? Is this going to be a bad week? How much can I handle? Let me lay out the week. For me, Mondays are exciting. I mean, I may be a complete dork and a complete geek when it comes to work, but Monday's the chance for you to start fresh and really see where the week goes. So, yeah, I think you can just really look forward to it and just remember that life is frustrating in itself. So it is what it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it really comes down to our mindset, right? And our connect, our just getting our spiritual energy. And really every day is a blessing. As they used to say in Sunday school, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let me rejoice and be glad in it. So there's something about what the old schoolers taught us, to approach every day, every challenge
Mm-hmm.
as an
Absolutely.
opportunity to bless. And ultimately, what you're talking about is helping people. The government services people, businesses service people, nonprofit service people. And you're in the business, and we're in the business at Global Presence of helping people who service people. It's like this like huge um, chain reaction and relational network where we're all kind of connected to each other. And Jen, I really appreciate you sharing and just how well versed and articulate you are. I can tell you have mastery in this subject.
Well,
And
thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to doing more podcasts with you as not only a partner, but someone who's on our team that's helping us grow this, and someone who's a business owner yourself with your company. And I'm definitely looking forward to some of the wider conversations we have with other team members related to social, um, communal issues related to business, and whether it's happening on a big level or micro level. It's going to be great to get your insight and some of the team members that are part of really we live up to our name, a global workforce. And so that's what I'm excited about is not only your thoughts, but your thoughts in light of the international team that we have of different partners and specialists. So again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in to Global Presence Talks, to this video/podcast. And we hope that this was beneficial to you as you looked at this subject of how do you begin to do business with the government. And it's a real thing, guys. It's a real thing. And you should definitely consider it. Reach out to Jenna. You can email her. You can go on to her personal website or globalpresence.marketing website and let her know you found her through this podcast/videocast, and so that we can definitely see that it's having a positive effect and influence in people's lives. All right. Much love. And we will reach out to you guys next week. All right. Peace.
Thanks, guys.